Yeah, good morning. It's a pleasure to be on the podium this morning. And good morning to our listeners.
Good morning. And also we have Barrister Emil Gunola as well. Barrister, good to have you. Good morning. Oh, okay. I think we lost connection with Barrister. So let me start with you, Prof. I mean, last week we were talking about how this could escalate into a major global trade war, and it looks like that's exactly what has played out based on the events that we saw during the week. China escalate, increasing its own from 84% to 125%. Trump deciding to pause for some countries, but also increase it for China. What have you made of what has played out so far on this issue?
Well, I think the other Trump, the United States, will have to learn a very huge lesson about having a president based by fools. The view of the United States concerning tariffs is completely unorthodox, and history has shown that it's a very bad decision to make. And looking at the way they have underestimated China, I think the United States is very foolish because China is ready, China is prepared, China a number of policies that have placed it in a very good position to engage in this kind of war. And when China says it is ready, I can assure you that China is ready. In the case of the United States, of course, you know that that's what Trump is doing. It is against life, and it's not enjoying the support of the American intelligentsia, especially the major economies. So it's a very turbulent move, and America is likely to take it.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I mean, it sounds like
it's already showing in the reaction of the stock exchange and so on. So I think something has to be United States. And you can see the way Trump pauses when he sees a big challenge coming. Especially with the reaction and the retaliatory move of the EU. When he saw that the EU has taken a retaliatory step, he quickly paused the sanction against the EU. And then, of course, the EU also paused the sanction, the retaliatory sanction. So you can see that. And then when I listen to some of the discussion with the debate within the United States, the impression they give is that all of this move is designed to provoke negotiation. And when you look at that strategy, it's a very costly and turbulent move. If it's for negotiation, I think it should have gone to the WTO, or at least engage individual countries and do it systematically and piecemeal, rather than this radicalizing approach, which is destabilizing the global trade system.
Yeah, Prof, it sounds like you're on the move, but let me quickly wrap up the conversation with you. Prof, so there are those who say the US is still being delusional, thinking that it's as powerful as it used to be, that maybe this happened 10, 20 years or 30 years ago, the world would shake more than it is right now. But right now, China is emerging as a global power. The European Union bloc is there as well. Russia is there. Now the US is being delusional about the kind of power it has. That's why it's introducing this tariff, thinking that it still controls the dynamics of international trade. What do you make of that argument,
Yeah,
Prof?
I think so too, because how can you take on the world? I mean, it's not dealing with a couple of countries, not 2 countries, not 3 countries, not 5 countries, not 10. You know, and then you ask yourself, who does that? You want to take on the whole world? What do you think you are? Who do you think you are? So it's a very delusional move. And it's a shame it's happening in the United States. Because how do you take on the entire global system? A global system that is built on your privilege. A dollarized global system. So they say those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. So how can you be the anchor man of the global system and then you are the one who is trying to, upturn it? For what purpose? So I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the current leadership of the United States.
Right. So let me go to Barrister. Barrister, good morning. Good to have you.
Yes, good morning. Prof, good morning too.
Yes.
Let me apologize because I am on the move this morning. I'm on my way to Lagos.
Oh, right.
And so we may be having a few hiccups here and there, but I hope we'll have a very, very good program.
Yeah. Barrister, I mean, I want to take it from the angle of African countries. Number of them are affected by this, about 50 of them actually, South Africa being the highest, 30% introduced by Trump. And there are already concerns about job losses, how this could affect the currency of these countries, even Nigeria as well, how this could affect our FX earnings, given that the US is one of our largest trade partners in the oil market. It could also affect our oil export as well. So there are conversations around how African countries can navigate through this. Maybe it's an opportunity for them to break the dependency on the US government and dollarization of the economy, especially when we have the AfCFTA, for instance, that is supposed to boost intra-African trade. So do you see this as maybe a double-edged sword? As much as it's going to affect our economy, it could also be an opportunity for African countries to cut their dependence on the US and boost trade within the continent.
Yes, thank you. That's always been my opinion that Africa needs to break away from the shackles imposed by liberal governments around the world. For too long, we have been held down by the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and of course the World Trade Organization, because we have to abide by the principles, for instance, that underlie the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. And for that long, even when the imperialist countries were breaching those principles, Africa stuck doggedly to those principles to its own detriment. For too long, the use of tariffs and custom barriers was common amongst the imperialist nations. And that created a lot of problems for us, when in actual fact, we ought to be using those instruments in boosting our economy, in allowing our own industries to thrive. For too long, our industries have been dying because cannot compete with imperialist economies. I want to see this happening in the United States of America with Trump as an opportunity for Africa, that if the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff collapses, if the World Trade Organization collapses, it will be to the benefit of Africa. Don't forget, this was why the Osama bin Laden targeted the World Trade Organization. Africa needs to protect its infant industries, but because of the control of tariffs and custom barriers, Africa has not been able to break loose from the shackles imposed by these new liberal organizations. So I think Trump is actually helping Africa if we know what we are doing. Let them break general agreements on tariffs and trade. Let them demobilize the World Trade Organization so that Africa can breathe. With respect to Trump, my position is very simple. A leader ought to be calm. A leader ought to be rational. And a leader ought to be circumspect. And I think that is what Prof is talking about. It appears all of those attributes are conspicuously missing in Trump, even though his move is intended to make America great again, even though his moves are intended, to bring America back to its old glory, according to him. But I agree with Prof that the way and manner Trump appears to be going about it will definitely harm America itself.
Right. Thank you, Barrister. So we'll take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
What's your reason? What's your reason? Oh, everybody gather round. Come and hear the news in town. From the kitchen to my heart, every single body's a thrill. With every bowl I share, I find more reasons.
There are more reasons to love Golden Penny pasta, enriched with protein and fiber for you and your loved ones. Golden Penny pasta. Great taste, good nutrition.
Tifa ba wole toni fa fala jifa. 32 FM, the happiness station, is ready to spread happiness again. Yes, ke? Then don't reach for us to make our listeners smile again. Oh, are you ready? Chetty do dede. Awufu berekete don't land like traffic lights. If true data is life, now if you say recharge card go come with you. If your finger is fast and you are feeling lucky on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, then keep your dial locked on 32 FM 949. Fenye. Nítorí ojo recharge card yóò máa rọ̀ ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Ṣẹ́gun, Ọjọ́rú àti Ọjọ́bọ̀. Ìyẹn ní pé every Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday time go reach you. Awufu berekete go dey ṣẹlẹ̀ on top 32 FM 94.9 by 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m. Congo reach 7 p.m. Lẹ́yìn tó túmọ̀ sí pé láago 8 òwúrọ̀, aago 11 àárọ̀, aago 1 ọ̀sán, aago 5 àti aago 7 àṣálẹ́. If it be red network, if it be green network, it still fit be yellow network. Any which way na way, your own na to stay alert and stay active on 32 FM. Ló bá tán, má gòkè la fàwọ́dà.
You want like Vinny Junior? Èmi tí mo phenomenal gangan.
Ganusi Extra! Laugh Matters with Benga Denka and Friends is back with the About Time Tour 2025, promising an unforgettable experience filled with laughter, featuring Mr. P, P-Square, Terry Akbala, Papa Tumishe, Bash, Omobaba, Dr. Smile, Kiki, Kenny Black, Mr. Escom, Piti Master, General Olak, Pretty Arike, Pretty Fola, Kamo, Baba Laria, Madiba, Package, Tai Chi, Rapping Daddy, DJ Sexy, DJ Max, and many more. Date, Sunday, 20th of April 2025. Venue, Jogo Center, Ibadan. Show starts 4 p.m. Tickets, regular 5K, VIP 10K, Gold 250K, Platinum 500K. Ticket available at Hessen Salon, Foodco Supermarket, Ultima Restaurant, Grandex Supermarket, Ace Supermarket. Online at fonzweb.com. Proudly brought to you by FIRS, Multina, Goldberg, Ace Roots, Omni Blue Aviation. Supported by the Oyo State Government, Enclave Properties, Eleganza, Ibadan. Let's Ganusi together. Media partner 32 FM.
In the mind of the one who needs to sell a landed property, a lot is going on.
How do I get a buyer? How do I get the best deal? Can I trust these agents? Should I advertise on the radio or social media? Where do I even start? Who can help me? How do I avoid scammers? Should I even sell this property? No, I need this money within 7 days.
Hey, slow down. Do you have a landed property, whether land or building, in a choice location, and you're looking forward to selling it quickly? 32 FM, the Laughter Station, in partnership with Soft Sands Property, is bringing an offer to you. Yes, one you cannot resist. If you have a house or land in a decent neighborhood with appropriate titles and you want it advertised on 32 FM 94.9 Ibadan free for quick sales, you can call or send a message to this number:
091 646 15000 and 091 555 0055.
Also, you can visit www.softsandsproperty.com to express your interest. Terms and conditions apply.
Soft Sands, created to house the world.
Ẹ̀yin fans mi.
It's okay.
Ẹ lọ sórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ ní 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀
Asafu. It's okay.
kápẹ́ dèlò èdè fèdè yangan àtàwọn àkànlò èdè ayàwòrán tó perégedé fìrómọ̀rí sí fènìyàn pohùn àtàwọn ìṣàmúlò ẹwà èdè Yorùbá tó jíire lẹ́yìn máa pápádé lórí ètò Yorùbá Dùn ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Ajé láago 8 àṣálẹ́ ṣaago 8 kọjá 20 ìṣẹ́jú pẹ̀lú ìtúpalẹ̀ àwọn lítírésì eré oníṣe tó kún fọ́gbọ́n ìmọ̀ òye àṣà ìrírí lọ́pọ̀ yanturu tá a fi gbélé ayé tó kọ́mọ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Ìkànnì 32 FM 94.9 lẹ́wọ̀n sì máa gbọ́ ètò Yorùbá Dùn pẹ̀lú Olúbímpé Fátóyè àtọ́kùn ètò a kì í fowó ròyìn kó má lè kọ́ni lójú Olúgbénga Ìdòwú ó yá gbé sókè. Ọjọ́ 17 tí wọ́n ṣe ìgbéyàwó ni olóyè pé ilé ọmọ Dèbó jáde ó sì gé ó fi aṣọ funfun wé. Boko jìnnà ìlà kì í kó ìpàdé tó dọ̀jú Ajé ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí nìkànnì 32 FM 94.9 Yorùbá Dùn Yorùbá rẹwà Yorùbá wò mí jọjọ.
When the people became silent,
The government became oppressive. It's time to lend your voice to politics.
On 32 FM 94.9.
Welcome back. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9. Remember, we're live on Facebook, 32 FM 949 Fayette. Do well to drop a comment and share the live broadcast there. Okay, so Prof, I just want to quickly, ask you, since we're talking about how Africans can deal with this problem, why do you think South Africa has been particularly singled out? Hello, Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So I want to ask you that. Why do you think South Africa is particularly singled out by Trump, especially when you have a South African that is so close to him, heading the Department of Government Efficiency in the person of Elon Musk? Is it related to the land policy of the ANC, or maybe South Africa's stance, regarding the, Israeli-Gaza conflict? Prof.
As you know, Elon Musk is not very influential in South Africa. And if you know his ideological orientation, is completely different from what the current South African government stands for. He grew up in Pretoria. He attended Pretoria Boys High School, and he spent some time at the University of Pretoria before moving to the United States. But his influence in South Africa is more or less zero. So, and if you also see his white orientation, you know that he will have very little to do with the government of South Africa. And South Africa is at loggerheads with the United States as a result of the position of the South African government on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. They even took the United States, they took Israel to the International Criminal Court of Justice, and that has created very bad blood between the United States and South Africa. So it is not strange that they've hit that heavy tariff on South Africa. And you also know that it's bound to affect South Africa, because I think about 50% of automobiles produced in South Africa is exported to the United States. So it's a major market for the automobile industry in South Africa. So to that extent, it's a big problem for South Africa. But as you know, the will always the South Africans are committed to supporting Palestine. They have a very long-standing relationship with struggling peoples all over the world, and they are likely to be able to find alternative ways of addressing the problem. But the good thing is also that if the United States claims that the moves are designed for negotiation, I hope that the negotiation would eventually commence, and then we'll see how things will play out in the short to medium term. But really, the tariff will hurt the United States more than any other country, given that it is taking on the entire global system. If it was taken on South Africa alone, and South Africa has to deal with the United States, then it would be a huge problem. But taking the entire global system creates even leverage for countries that would otherwise have been weak in dealing with the United States. So I think South Africa will be up to it in the medium to long term.
Right. Okay. So let's quickly switch to our guest this morning. Dr. Monday Obani, SEN, joins us on the podium. Mr. Obani, good to have you. Thank you for joining us on the podium again.
A pleasure. He didn't give me any prior notice, so my sister just called and joined me. I don't even know what it. The topic is all about.
These things happen, but I mean, you're a colossus. So anytime we call on you, I'm sure you're always going to deliver, no matter the subject matter.
I hear you loud. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you for honoring our invitation. These things happen, things you don't plan for, but the show must go on. Thank you. Let me introduce, as you know, it's a panel discussion. Professor Emi Ayede, Professor of Political Science, University of Ibadan, is here with us, and your colleague in the profession, Mr. Yomi Ogunola, is also here as well, joining us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So
I want to greet all of them.
All right. Yes.
Yeah. Good morning. You're welcome.
God bless you.
Yes, my noble senior advocate of Nigeria. I say good morning.
My loyalty is not in doubt. My loyalty is not in doubt at all. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start off with the recent judgment of the Supreme Court. Regarding the Labour Party. I mean, I want to take it from the angle of not about Labour Party itself, but from the angle of understanding ruling of the Supreme Court and how court judgments are given different interpretations by various parties involved. So what we're seeing now is one party says the Supreme Court, kudos to them, they've done well, they've returned me as a national chairman. Someone else is saying, look, the Supreme Court has actually affirmed my leadership. Another one is saying, oh, the Supreme Court has scattered everything. So, I mean, where do you think this controversy is stemming from? Is it that the Supreme Court leaves some kind of ambiguity in the way it gives its ruling, or the parties are just being mischievous with the way they're interpreting it? Or maybe those reporting, maybe the judicial reporters are not presenting the actual cases, the way it's supposed to be reported to the public. Because this is not the first time that something like this is happening. It's happened in lower court as well, that one party says, if you're interviewing them, they say, oh, go and read the judgment. We are the one they have affirmed. Another party says, no, that's not what the judgment says. And you have all kinds of confusion here and there. Mr. Obani, please help us break it down.
Thank you. Clearly a troubling trend, a very disturbing trend that I had to do an article this particular week that is ending, and I sent it to most of the media houses. I don't even know whether your media house got that opinion. It is something that is disturbing, and many persons were calling and say, what is going on in your constituency? How come that people go to court to have their disputes resolved? But when they are leaving the court premises, they keep exchanging blows over a matter that ought to have been resolved by the judiciary. What is it? Is it an issue of misinterpretation by lawyers to the litigants? Or is it the desperation of litigants, claiming victory that does not exist? Or is it that the language of the court is clearly ambiguous, not easily understandable, not discernible, that make people to do what they are doing presently? And it's clearly something that is worrisome. So I had to sit down and I pointed out some of the recent Supreme Court cases where such occurred. If you remember the PDP case involving their secretary, where two of the parties came out of the court premises, quarreling, exchanging serious blows, despite the fact that there was a finality to the decision given by the Supreme Court. Then the one of Fubara and the State House of Assembly in Rivers also, a lot of interpretation. People say, wait until we get the CTC of the judgment. When the CTC of the judgment was obtained, people were giving interpretation just to suit their whims and caprices. And that wasn't healthy. And then the latest is the Labour Party matter, the issue of chairmanship in Brooklyn, that was also decided by the Supreme Court, right there in the court premises. The two parties were holding separate press conferences, claiming victory, when the Supreme Court itself has actually dismissed some persons' appeal. My understanding of appeal on any matter or decision of the court is that if you appeal against a decision, meaning you're disagreeing with the decision of the lower court, you're saying, look, I do not agree with the judgment that has been just delivered by the lower court, and you state all the grounds of appeal. Now, if the Supreme Court, if the appellate court, the other court of appeal or Supreme Court oppose your appeal, it means that they agree with your position, that the judgment below was wrong, if your appeal is upheld. Now, if the appellate court dismisses your appeal, it doesn't mean that you have lost. It doesn't mean that what the court has done, the appellate court has done, it affirms whatever decision has been reached by the lower court. Take for instance the labor matter you just mentioned. Now, in labor matter, the Abure won at the lowest court. That's the Federal High Court.
Yes,
there was a decision in his favor. When the matter was appealed against at the Court of Appeal affirmed the decision of the lowest court, right?
Yes.
And so Osman, who happens to be the caretaker of the Labour Party, now went to Supreme Court, meaning that the woman is the appellant. And I understand that Abure himself also cross-appealed. He cross-appealed because there may have been some decisions reached by the Court of Appeal that he was not very comfortable with, despite the fact that the court affirmed his chairmanship. And as I understood, it was also based upon that judgment of the lowest court affirming his chairmanship of Labour that made INEC to recognize him. INEC recognized him because his tenure has actually expired. But he went to court and got these favorable judgments. Fine. So now the Supreme Court now says, look, this matter you guys are bringing before the court in the first place ought to not have come before the court. It's not justiciable. It's a matter that is clearly within the purview of the political party that they should handle. Issue of leadership and all that is clearly a political issue that shouldn't be, brought before the court. So what the court now did was to now dismiss the cross appeal of Abure, meaning that his position is holding by virtue of the court decision does not stand anymore. Because if you are cross appeal, asking that you will be affirmed, further affirmed by the Supreme Court is now dismissed. It doesn't mean that you have lost. Your position that you are holding by the court of lowest court and the Court of Appeal is no longer there anymore. That's what it means. If your appeal is dismissed, because we are asking that the Supreme Court should affirm your chairmanship. So you've lost. And so, but unfortunately, and the two parties also came out from the same Supreme Court and we are saying, I have won. The other person say, I have won. So you put yourself into a lot of confusion. So I came up with an idea that maybe the courts themselves have to look at the language they use, especially when they are, finally arriving at whatever ratio they have decided over the matter, that they can summarize their judgment. If there is any room for even consequential order, sorry. So I hope I'm being heard.
Yes.
Somebody was.
Yes.
Somebody was calling. I hope we were not interrupted.
No. We can hear you clearly, sir.
Yeah, beautiful. So if there is any ambiguity, the court should say, okay, our final conclusion is this. This is our judgment. In summary, 1, 2, 3. If there are consequential orders that the court should make in order to ensure the enforceability of the judgment, is the court should not stop at the point of leaving room for any ambiguity or any different interpretation to be read of his judgment, by leaving out a particular order that can now make the judgment to be effectual. Right?
Yeah.
That's my prescription. Then I also advise that lawyers should be very, very truthful enough to uphold the tenets of the profession by advising their clients appropriately. This issue of, lying to clients or because of whatever you can, get from your client and then discredit the profession by giving wrong advice and by telling them that you have won when the person is a loser and all that. It's not right. That it can probably, attract disciplinary measures against those lawyers who engage in it. Then finally, I also say that the court should be ready at every point in time to activate their contempt powers by punishing those who deliberately misinterpret and give a different version to a court judgment that is expressly very explicit, that is explicit and clear. That if a judgment is very clear and ambiguous, then parties should not engage in an issue of double speaking and then misinterpreting the judgment to the detriment of the society, to the law profession itself, to the judiciary, and to the society as a whole. So there must be some consequences in terms of punishment. These are what I prescribe, and I feel that if we look at them and them, maybe we may begin to find to this problem of misinterpretation of court judgment. That is what I did and what I said.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Obani. I mean, as you rightly put it, you see different parties celebrating victory, addressing the press. Sometimes the journalists get confused as to whether to call one person the suspended chairman or self-proclaimed chairman. But using the Labour Party case as an example, so would you say that the Supreme Court was very clear that there's no ambiguity whatsoever? Because it says that in a unanimous judgment, 75-member panel of the appeal court had initially held that, of the apex court rather, had held that the Court of Appeal lacked the jurisdiction to have pronounced Abure national chairman of the party. So they set aside the decision of the Court of Appeal on that basis. And then they said that the issue of leadership was an internal affair of the party over which court lacks jurisdiction. So they are saying no court should have heard the case. They didn't have jurisdiction. The party should go and sort itself out. So as it stands, from the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, is it clear that there is no chairman of the Labour Party presently until the party comes together to sort out its internal issue? And Lamidi Abapa saying he wants to come back, or Abure saying that he still remains chairman, is null and void. Yes.
It gets confusing, when you have this Apampa himself again coming back and say, look, I am now the chair.
Yes.
So you begin to wonder where did he derive this power now to now announce himself as a chairperson? Because before then, there has been somebody that INEC has recognized as the chairperson. If you remember that there was what you call terms of settlement that gave Abure when there was so much heat, before prior to the election, there was so much problem within the political party, so that they had to now reach what you call terms of settlement, an amicable settlement, and it was signed by all parties, including Abure, who says they should give him at least 1 year. I think what was put down there as terms of court of judgment was that he should stay 1 year as the chairperson, and they all agreed. And there was a pronouncement made on that terms. Now the 1 year had expired, had since expired. Now, the normal congresses, that are supposed to be held at the local level, ward, state, local government, state, and all that, prior to the convention that will now produce new leadership, was never, authored by the acting chair then, by him, who was then the chairman, substantive chair, recognized by INEC. He never did all that. And so there was a vacuum, right? Because it is at the convention that new leadership emerged. Now, I think there were these stakeholders that came together, if I remember vividly, I'm not this and all that, came and appointed a caretaker committee to run the administration of labor, pending the time they can now comply with the provisions of the Constitution in enthroning new leadership that will emerge in a national convention, right? So that has not been done. That caretaker committee was put in place, and Abure, I think, went to court, or was already in court, and the lowest court pronounced him the chair. The Court of Appeal affirmed. Now, getting to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court now said no, that clearly is a matter that should be settled by the political party's leadership structure in terms of who becomes the chair. It's not their business. And so dismiss the cross-appeal of the man who claimed to be the chairperson of Labour. Says no, your position as chairperson does no longer exist, because if you appeal it dismissed, it means that the court did not agree with the lower court decision that you are the chair. That's what it means. I mean, though this ambiguity came when you now say, oh, it's an internal matter and should be decided by the leadership. So they now begin to ask, who is the leader? That's what I'm saying, that the Supreme Court sometimes leave these things hanging and all that. So if you now make such a pronouncement that it's an internal matter, who do you, based upon what has been presented before you as a court, now say is the leader? Is the leader of who is the leader? Who is the chairperson? So that was left hanging. And so everyone now from every angle, the man who was there claimed that he is the leader. He is the one to produce new leadership, if there's any going to be new leadership. Then the one who has been put as a caretaker committee chairperson also came up and said, yes, I am the person who the stakeholders have actually put there as acting. So all that confusion would have been avoided if the Supreme Court had gone further to now say, in the light of this, there should be somebody, because nature abhors a vacuum, right?
Yes.
There should be somebody that the court should have. So, but all that were left hanging. And so everyone from everywhere, including this Apampa now from nowhere, is now rearing his ugly head and all that. So you see the confusion, that is being created most times, by leaving things like this. That should have been considered orders. Those orders could have probably give some level of clarity. Okay, in the light of this, somebody should hold sway for the meantime until proper election or proper convention is held, to choose new leadership and all that. So I think And it is always in political cases, my brothers. It's always in political cases. And lawyers, politicians are so desperate, and they are ready to rubbish any institution, including the judiciary. They have done it, with election petition matters, because you know what is going on, with a lot of inconsistent decisions at the Court of Appeal. In fact, today, it is being said that if you want any judgment in your favor as a petitioner or as a respondent, there are several precedents left for you, either for Mr. A. If the same Mr. B in the same matter comes, there are several precedents the man can rely upon in order to give you judgment. It has become like a transactional issue. If you have more money, then you can be sure that there is precedent for your case, and you get judgment. And they will write it and cite all authorities in order to give credence to whatever they have decided. Yes.
Okay, let me go to your learned colleague now. Barrister Ognola, you have the floor. Hello, Barrister?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think my learned friend and senior advocate of Nigeria has really thrashed the issue of Labour Party, Abure, Apapa, and the rest of them. But I am really troubled. I'm really troubled by the fact that the disregard of politicians to judgments of courts is becoming too worrisome. The level of impunity, because you can imagine the Supreme Court making a pronouncement and a litigant going out there and saying, no, this is the position. When the Supreme Court judgment ought to be the final say on a matter that is submitted before it. Don't you think that this level of impunity and wanton disregard for the judgment of courts will have adverse effect on the justice system in Nigeria, if not addressed immediately?
Senior advocate, the question is for you, sir.
Yes. What was the question? Somebody was distracting me. Sorry about that. What did he ask? Sorry, my.
So he's saying that there is this, level of impunity and disregard for court ruling by politicians. That isn't this a dangerous trend? Because the Supreme Court is supposed to have a final say. Yes.
Yes, it is clearly dangerous, and that's why I had to lend my voice. Because it's becoming very, very, very dangerous. Now, the danger is that people will lose complete confidence if they feel that judgment of the court can be people can make a mess of it. People will not in any way, comply with it. So why go to court? Why don't I take laws into my hand and get whatever I think is justice, in quote? So it is not a good trend, and it all comes from the desperation of politicians. This is not happen. It doesn't happen in other cases like that. But any political case, politicians always feel above the law. They disregard court judgment, they disregard and begin to hold parallel conferences right there in the premises of the court, right there in the premises, and begin to give the interpretation and disregard the court judgment. In fact, it got a state that somebody claimed his secretary, whereas maybe there was a judgment. There is a voice. Somebody can off his own this in place. Please, somebody can off his, if he's not talking, please. Sorry.
Right, go ahead, sir.
So what happened is that right there in the premises of the court, you see judges, politicians, saying a different thing, from what the court has actually, finished reading. And I think that's why I say that activation of contempt proceedings by the court should be something that the court must also begin to consider. But judges must be bold enough to enforce their judgment, because most times there is this lily-liveredness of the justices. Most of them are not bold enough. I don't know whether they are afraid, maybe because of the way they were appointed, or whether they owe allegiance to some politicians. They are not bold enough to say, look, this is my judgment, and if you fail to comply with this judgment, these are the consequences. So there must be an enforcement. There must be some level of seriousness on the part of judges who have made pronouncements, and those pronouncements are not being obeyed. And look, if you don't obey this judgment, we commit you for contempt. But again, you have police that may not want to carry out against all these politically exposed individuals. So we're having issue. In fact, one of the suggestions I did, that look, maybe the judiciary must have a standing enforcement unit that can enforce court judgment. We have had many issues, in judiciary where judgments are, flagrantly disobeyed, as my learned colleague has said, and nothing happens because the police is not in the hands of the judiciary; it is in the hands of the executive. So if you ask the police to go and arrest the IG, or even the commissioner of police, which police will do that in Nigeria? So we have issues with enforcement.
Before I go to Prof, I mean, I just want to get your view on what has been the position of the court in recent time that if there's an internal party issue and you try to sue, you'll be deemed as a meddlesome interloper, and the Supreme Court seemed to have maintained its position on that in different cases, from the PDP case to the Labour Party case. They say, look, this is an internal affair. But is that what do you make of that decision, given that, I mean, conflict is inevitable? So are we saying that political parties must, by any means necessary, resolve their internal crisis without having to go to court? Then if that's the position of the court, then why do we see courts taking a position on how primaries are conducted or how a candidate emerges as the flag bearer of a political party? We've seen some elections overturned on the basis of the legality of a primary. We've seen how elections are overturned on the basis of how a candidate was selected, maybe his qualification or his certificate having discrepancies. Can those be deemed as internal party issue that if you sue on that basis, you are a meddlesome interloper as well? Before I go to Prof, senior advocate.
This issue that some issues within the precinct of the political party has always been there. I think it is one of Okafor's case that established that particular precedent. There are issues that are clearly internal that should not be brought before the court. When you see the court intervene is if there is any grievance by any of the parties alleging that, look, there are laws, we have constitution, we have rules, we have guideline, but that this guideline has been breached, and you now cite the provisions of the guideline that are breached. That is where the court can come in. You mentioned issue of primaries, where the court usually also intervene, right? Because in making those allegations, you are saying that, look, yes, most matters are internal, but here, the party itself has failed to adhere to their own laws that they have enacted, their own rules they have enacted. And so you are inviting the court to intervene. You're not saying that this matter is not an internal matter, it's an internal matter, but we're saying that even though an internal matter, but look at where this political party has actually not done it right, in accordance with the laws that they have even enacted to guide them. In that instance, the court comes in. But where it becomes who should be the chairman, who should be the secretary, and all that, unless you point out, sometimes there can be confusion, even by the judgment of the court, because there are times even in these issues they have come in and made a decision, even by the apex court. Sometimes leaving room for confusion as to when do you draw the line that this is purely an internal matter of political that shouldn't attract justiciability of the judiciary, or this one is one we can come in. So that line sometimes is very blurred. It's not completely clear. But the point remains that the issue of internal matter of political party that shouldn't come to court has always been the decision of the Supreme Court. And it has been there for many, many years. Now, I don't know, sometimes it can be used as a sword. It can also be used as a defense. So it all depends on where you pray so hard for the court to look at your matter from a very good principle, a vision, and say, okay, I agree with you that we should come in, or I don't agree with you, we should not come in. So it's a line that is completely blurred. But the most important thing I want to say before I drop the microphone to my colleague is that, look, there are issues that the court has recognized as internal matter. When it comes to who is the chairperson, who is the secretary, who is the PRO and all that, it is clearly an internal matter. They should be able to decide it. But where in looking at internal matter, it now boils down on issue that even your own laws are not being observed, even your own laws are not being complied with, and you're able to bring it out in your framing of your statement. And you are rich, or whatever process you are using to initiate the court process, you frame it very well in such a manner that it doesn't read as if this is an internal matter, and the court says, oh yes, we can come in here based upon the way you have framed your relief and all that. It's your relief that determine whether it is a matter that the court should come in, right, or a matter that the court should leave to the political party. So it is important that lawyers who are very experienced enough are employed in framing this in those your reliefs, you are seeking before the judiciary.
All right. Okay, let's go to Prof now. Prof?
Yes, thank you very much. When he was talking, what came to mind was the decision of the Supreme Court concerning the situation in Rivers State before the declaration of state of emergency. We had a situation where it was not really very clear concerning the most fundamental issues for the public, that is the status of the members of the House of Assembly. The tendency of people to interpret it as the Supreme Court being complicit in the process or being teleguided from somewhere is really that when some of these issues are not clearly clarified and fundamental issues are not treated, there are no specific statements or decisions on some of those fundamental aspects of the issue at hand, people begin to think that the Supreme Court itself is compromised. And when you have a situation like that, what do you think is the future of the role of the judiciary in Nigeria? Because the whole idea of the judiciary is that when there is ambiguity over a very critical issue, especially concerning the status or the legal status of an individual, a group of individuals, it becomes very fundamental to the issue. And one can even argue, and this is where my question comes in, don't you think that it is the failure of the Supreme Court judgment in those matters that led to the declaration of the state of emergency? That if the judiciary, the Supreme Court has made very clear decision and made specific orders concerning the status of those members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, this whole loophole, which led to the declaration of the state of emergency, would not have happened.
Please, Toba,
yes.
Please permit me.
Okay.
Before my brother comes in with his response.
Yes.
Let me add just this to the question that was asked. The decision of the concurrent judgment, which decided or gave a decision as to the status of the 27 lawmakers, when it was actually not an issue before the court, whether it was right or proper for the Supreme Court to have adjudicated on that issue or to have made a pronouncement on that issue.
So, Senior Advocate, you can go ahead, sir. You can go ahead now.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first issue on the issue of the status of the alleged defected members, 27 members. I also appeared on channels concerning this defection. And I said there is ambiguity based upon the provisions of the Constitution when it concerns members of the legislative arm of government. It says that a member who defects to another political party loses his seat. That is provision 1. However, that was a proviso. If the defecting member proves that there was a merger, his political party engaged in a merger, or that there is crisis or disagreement or whatever within his political party, that the party is in crisis, then he cannot lose his seat. In other words, he has created a room for determination of the status of a defecting member by the judiciary. So my colleagues, many of them that time were saying, look, the moment you defect, you have lost your seat automatically. That was their conclusion. And they were feeding that particular information to the members of the public. So they were now saying, those 27 members have lost their seat. I said, no, that cannot be the position of the law. The law says if they come up with a proof or with a fact that the political party is embroiled in crisis, that is a room for them not to lose their seat. And who determines whether there is crisis? It is the court. the matter must still go to court, and the court will take a decision. Okay, you have defected. And the other person saying you defected because and then there's no reason for your defection. And so the other man said, no, I defected because of so. There was either a merger or because there is crisis in my political party. So it becomes a factual issue that a judex must decide. So it becomes because of that proviso. So it's not automatic. So in the 27 members who defected, if you recall, as I speak to you today, there is no single court that has made a pronouncement saying that they have lost their seat automatically. So that confusion, and by lawyers giving interpretation in television, confusing, create a lot of crisis. They say, they have lost their seat, and so by that they cannot in any way pass budget. They cannot in any way examine the budget. So the man himself also was not sending budget to the 27, but was sending to only 3 or 4 members to pass. That again created a lot of crisis. And I told them from the beginning when this matter started that they will not resolve this matter in court, that the court will give judgment in favor of A or Mr. B, and the matter will not be resolved. That this is a political matter that can only be resolved by both parties coming together and make some concession. Oh, YUSUF is the one that brought this man, no doubt, but he's not God. God help him, use him, let him also make some, and allow the man to govern. Since himself has been a governor, let the governor also realize that without YUSUF, God using YUSUF, he wouldn't have been governor. So there must be that concession and understanding by both parties. And they reach an agreement and continue to give governance to the people. But knowing fully well the kind of person that YUSUF is, you have to be careful, and all that. And then use wisdom, because Bible says in all you are getting, get wisdom. It could have been managed. And at the end, the man will still be. But the point was that they all, took to their extreme position. And they look at where we are today. So my take is this. Most time there is problem of misinterpretation. I don't know whether the issue of defected members was an issue before the Supreme Court as a ground. I don't know. But I understand that many people are saying that it wasn't a ground. But the Supreme Court went ahead and made a pronouncement and said these people have not lost their seat. That only court can still decide whether they have lost their seat. That was what the Supreme Court said. And they were right. I don't know whether it was a ground or whatever, or somebody, brought it in and all that. The Supreme Court had to make a pronouncement. Or whether it was reached obiter. Because there is what you call ratio, which is the main decision of a court, or something reached as an obiter. An obiter means a pronouncement that is not binding, but made in the course of judgment. But ratio is the main reason. Ratio decidendi is the reason for the reason you give for the judgment. So I don't know whether that pronouncement was obiter. But all times, obiter also can be used to really reflect the idea, and when it comes from the highest court, the apex court, that obiter will be taken as the gospel truth. So I think in the course of that judgment, that statement was made. Look, as we speak today, the so-called defected members have not lost their seat because that has not been determined. That has not been determined by any court. Because what happened was when they reached agreement with the president, Fubara and YUSUF group, Fubara went and withdrew all the cases they have. Most of the defenses they have to the issue, they didn't challenge, they didn't go for it again based upon the consensus, the agreement they have reached. And that affected him. Because when judgments were given by the lower court, they were given undefended. Because there were nothing, again, filed by Fubara to challenge most of the things that they were supposed to challenge because of the terms of settlement reached with the presidency. And that affected most of the things that now happen at the upper court, the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. I don't know how they wanted to succeed when at the lowest court, they don't have any defense. They didn't have any of that. They withdrew all the things that they filed, attacking the other party. So at the end, the Supreme Court will only pronounce based upon, if you continue with the cases, they will pronounce based upon what has happened at lowest court. It's the records. They cannot go and manufacture, a defense for you. It is what has been decided by the lower court that the court will look at. It's the records that was there below, at the court below, that they will look at in order to arrive at a decision. So actually what affected Fubara, because he withdrew a lot of his defenses at the lower court and still pursued the matter at the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court when people are advising that he should not in any way throw in the towel. He must fight on. But you are fighting on by making a mistake in withdrawing all the things you have filed at the lowest court. So how do you think you can succeed at the Court of Appeal? The Court of Appeal cannot bring in evidence different from what was brought in from the lowest court. So these are issues.
Right.
So I'm saying that we also misinterpret those things, and then members of the public are left with a wrong impression as to whether the judiciary is doing it right or doing it wrongly. That's my understanding.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Monday Obani. We're trying to connect with Alhaji Lamidi Apapa now. Hopefully, he joins us as we continue the conversation. But I'd like to get your thoughts on, what has played out in Rivers so far. Moving away from the Supreme Court decision, we've seen the sole administrator that's been appointed. We've seen some of the decision he's taken, and some people are saying, "Wait a minute, the sole administrator is not a governor. He was not elected. He should not be making appointment or making some decisions that are political. That on what basis is he doing this?" A lot of people have declared it as an illegality on that part. Okay. Yes, Alhaji Lamidi Apapa, please, senior advocate, hold that thought. Let me quickly bring on Alhaji Lamidi Apapa. Thank you so much for joining us on the podium this morning. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I am with you.
Right. So, as you know, it's a panel discussion. So, we have two panelists. We also have a legal practitioner with us, a senior advocate of Nigeria, as a matter of fact, Mr. Monday Obani. So, he will be chiming in on the conversation as it progresses. So, let me just ask you, you announced after the Supreme Court ruling that you have taken over leadership of the Labour Party following the release of the certified true copy of the Supreme Court ruling. And some people are saying, well, we have read the certified true copy. There's no part where the Supreme Court said, "Oh, Alhaji Apapa, come and take over." So, on what basis are you going to take over? Did the Supreme Court in any part of its ruling mention your name as the valid chairman of the party?
Thank you so much. Well, if you listen to my address very well, I didn't call myself as the national chairman of the party. I call myself acting national chairman of the party. And you are saying, where did I derive that authority? Let me read out where the authority was derived.
Okay.
In Labour Party Constitution, Article 14, 2A and B, has authorized me as the Deputy National Chairman of the party to do what I've done immediately. And let me go straight to that portion. 14.2A, the Deputy National Chairman shall assist the National Chairman in the discharge of his duties, A. Then B, a Deputy National Chairman shall act in the absence of the National Chairman and shall, in the absence of the National Chairman, preside over the meetings of the party. Now, let me now go straight to why that was done. Now, when we read the Supreme Court judgment that Aburi should not parade himself as a national chairman of the party, and that it is an internal affairs of the party, that the party should go back home and resolve their issues. There is no way we should allow a vacuum. And the so-called interim that was announced by our principal, Peter Obi and Governor Oti, there is not like that in our constitution. And when you are to go back home, you are going back to those who will resolve the matter. Are we going back home to Aburi who said he remains the national chair of the party no matter the decision of the Supreme Court? Now that's number one. Are we now going back to Peter Obi, who has already formed his own caretaker committee? Now, and I said the only thing we must first of all do is to go into the party's constitution. Because if we don't go into that, we will still continue to swim in illegality. Then the best thing for me now is to go into that constitution. And that has clearly stated, without asking for any permission, that if such a thing happens, the deputy chairman must take over in acting capacity. And that's what I've done. That's where I derive my authority.
Okay, as you said, there are those who said that the current leadership of the party is the Nenadi Usman caretaker chairmanship, which is supported by, of course, your candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, Alex Oti, some of your members in the House of Representatives, Olumide Akpata, your candidate in the Doguba elections as well. So, I mean, if you're a true party man, there are those who are saying, look, you should not say that you are the acting national chairman based on what the Supreme Court has said, that the party should sort itself internally. That you should indeed reach out to the Nenadi Usman camp and talk to them about how this issue can be resolved going forward for your party. That what you're doing means that you're trying to create more confusion for the party by creating another faction, because you're on one side saying that you are the acting chairman based on the ruling, Abure on one side saying that he remains a chairman, and then Nenadi Usman saying that he is the caretaker committee chairman that wants to bring together every faction of that party. So shouldn't you be reaching out to them in line with what the Supreme Court said, that look, this is an internal issue, go and sort yourselves out internally?
We are going to do that, but immediately it happened, something must be done. Because we won't allow a vacuum. If I should go and meet somebody who said is person in charge, the second one said is in charge. But the only thing that can differentiate us is the constitution of the party. So, and that's what I've done. This one you are saying now is a thing that will be done later.
Okay, let me bring in the senior advocates here. Yes, okay, barrister.
Toba.
Yes, sir.
Please permit me to ask Alhaji one or two questions.
All right, go ahead, barrister.
Alhaji, thank you very much. Alhaji, are you running a joint tenure with Abure, or the tenure of Abure is independent of your own tenure? I hope you got my question. Are you running a joint tenure with Abure, or Abure's tenure as president is distinguishable from your own as deputy national chairman?
It's the same school. It's the same period that we came in.
So if that is the case, if the court declares Abure's tenure as having expired, does that not automatically translate to the expiration of your own tenure too?
The judgment doesn't mention the issue of tenureship. The judgment is based on Abure's issue of wrongdoing in the past. And that was what led to why he was asked to step aside. It's not an issue of tenureship. Even if our tenure has expired, who should conduct that convention? Is there an outsider who will conduct it? It is still within the party. And that's why we have structure. If you are privileged to read the Labour Party constitution, you will see all these. These are well detailed. It's not an outsider who will now conduct that convention. It is still within the party. These are people who are not part of the ESCO at all in any way. So they cannot claim ownership at all or claim superiority over it. It is those that are within that party that should know who should conduct either convention or say congresses.
All right, Elijah Papa, let me quickly go to senior advocates. I mean, we're talking about the issue of ambiguity earlier, but from his explanation, senior advocate, he says that, look, what he's trying to do is to prevent a vacuum, and he hinges his decision on the constitution of his party, that after the Supreme Court has said everybody should go to their house and sort themselves out, he has decided to take over as acting national chairman to sort things out. So is this ambiguity that you spoke about earlier, senior advocate?
Yeah, well, I think the figure is the ambiguity. Now, somebody has to put this in on side. Somebody also, because I feel noise at the background.
Okay, Prof, I think there's a background noise from your end. Okay, yes, that's done. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
If we can put it on mute. The issue is this ambiguity is created by the political actors in Labour. If you hear the question that my colleague asked. They respected Alhaji. He asked him, was he running an independent leadership from that of Abure? Because there was a terms of settlement that was signed by Abure prior to the election, in which parties signed that Abure has, I think, 1 year as a chairperson. Was Alhaji part of that leadership that were recognized by that terms of settlement, that was signed, in which Abure was now allowed to be the chairman, leading to the election? Was Alhaji part of that leadership? And I don't think so, because Alhaji himself also fought Abure to, I think, until they went to Supreme Court. So having said that, now that 1 year that was given to Abure has since expired, and Abure has not been able to conduct another election to produce new leadership, right? I think the major stakeholders, now came in. Now, I heard Alhaji loud and clear and said that there is no provision for interim. But the point is that these are major stakeholders. Nature avoids the vacuum. Would they allow the political party to go in limbo? Would they allow the political party to die? Most of the people who were elected into the National Assembly State House of Assembly are major stakeholders on this with P2B and even the governor. In fact, the highest elected officer today in the Labour Party is the governor of Abia State, and he's a major stakeholder. The presidential candidate of Labour, P2B, is a major stakeholder. He was the one that was allowed, and his result announced about his participation in 2023 election. So he cannot rule him out. Alhaji himself did not produce any different candidate apart from P2B. So all the members that were elected into National Assembly, all the members that were elected into various State House of Assembly are on one side they are the major stakeholders. They are the major leader. Let's be sincere about it. If this ambiguity is not just being created for the sake of making sure that Labour does not in any way stand. So they all came together and said, look, we cannot allow this party to. There was an agreement. That agreement has actually, this man has not been able to produce new leadership. But let's put an interim, government to now to pretend. Let me finish that. Let me finish that. To avoid, explode, the party going into implosion. So they got somebody, and now they have gone to the Supreme, and the Supreme Court now says, look, all this issue of your leadership clearly is issue of an internal matter. So you go and resolve it. So with somebody that has no major holder now claim to be the chairman, who is he? Who are his foot soldier? Who are with him? The presidential candidate is not with you. The governor, the highest person today holding office in Nigeria, is not with you. All the National Assembly members are not with you. All the state legislators that have been elected under Labour Party are not with you. And you are claiming to be the chairman. So it's just to create confusion. So I think that it is a confusion that is self-contrived, self-inflicted. And I think that they can get out of this and all that. And that makes many people not to like politicians and say, I don't want to participate. It's very dirty. These guys, they don't play by the one they do sometimes. You begin to wonder, are they okay? Because it's not normal for a political party that has so much prospect, to be going down. Honestly.
Right. Senior advocate. Yes.
It's self-inflicted.
Right.
Are you free, sir?
Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Alhaji. Go ahead, Alhaji.
I want to draw you back a bit.
Yes. Go ahead.
Our first crisis that started that time at the appeal court, Abu was alleged of so many wrongdoings. P2B and the so-called senators, they were supporting him. I told them Abu cannot be a judge in his own case. Allow him to step aside for somebody to take over, for us to investigate him thoroughly. They supported him. That's the genesis of this problem that we are facing today. Anywhere where people fail to speak the truth, that place will not have peace. The NSC that time supported him because there was an agreement that he will hand over to whoever they want. So we've been fighting this matter. I had you because you also know that I didn't stop at the federal level. We moved to the federal court. We moved to the appeal court. Right now, we still have another case at the Supreme Court. Now, why is this so? If you fail to speak the truth, you will continue to be in a big mess. Now, when he made an agreement with them, I was not privileged to know the type of agreement they made, because the agreement was that he will do an all-inclusive national convention. And when he was to do it, they were sidelined. Another trouble started. This is a man that we have all condemned before them. But for reason best known to them, they supported him. It's an issue that they are all facing today. Let me now come to the issue of, we are talking about their major stakeholders. No doubt about that. They are major stakeholders. But that doesn't give them an authority to control the party when we have ESCO in place. Now, the issue of who should take over, whether I don't have governor, I don't have this, I don't have that. But I have the power of the constitution of the party. And when they say, go and resolve your matter, are you going to use Bible to resolve political party issues? Are you going to use Quran to resolve the party issues? You will use the party constitution, a constitution that was made before the crisis. And it was clearly stated, in an issue like this is the way you must go. Whether I have nobody with me, I have the backing of the constitution of the party. That is it. It's not an issue of whether I'm trying to create confusion. I am just telling you the truth and what the party constitution contains. That's the level we are right now. I'm not trying to create problem at all. But if they fail to speak the truth or to address the truth, then we shall continue in this way. And remember that time I came to your station, sir, and I told you all this, that provided the right thing is done, the problem will continue. That's why we are where we are. I'm not trying to be adamant on issues, but the truth must, or the right thing or the done.
Right.
That is it.
Right. Okay. Let's go to Prof now. Prof. Hello, Prof.
I have yes, I can hear you. Can you hear?
I can hear you, Prof. I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I have two questions. The first question is, when will his tenure expire as a member of the ESCO? Then two, you must remember that the SSF is an agent to the other members of the political party. And when you have an ambiguous situation like this, it's important to put those stakeholders and members in the center of the resolution of the conflict. Instead of going to announce yourself as taking over as acting chairman, is it not better to have reached out to the caretaker committee working on the ground to get a resolution?
Why that is not possible? You see, I didn't want to expose anybody on air. But in the situation where you are calling a meeting and you have decided already, you have a mindset. Before you call a meeting, already a committee has been set up. You have decided on what to do. You have concluded everything. Why are you inviting people to a meeting? A meeting should be the one that will decide the resolution of that meeting. But because you have decided on your own before calling a meeting, then that's not a meeting, because we should be able to decide. If they have called a meeting earlier, before forming whatever they are forming, then that will have resolved the matter even without getting to the public. But they refuse to do that. On the issue of whether a political party or whatever is using anybody, let us discuss the issue. That has been said several times, and they don't have any evidence to prove it. What we have currently is that what is the way forward? Are they also ready to sit down and regard every other person too? Even if we are not major, to them, we are not major stakeholders, but we give them tickets to run. We gave them the ticket to run. They met us in the party. No matter how rich they are, we are also important. We are all Nigerians.
Okay.
And if we are not treated as such, then the issue will continue.
Okay, Alhaji Papa, you said that you have another case before the Supreme Court. So what's your prayer before the Supreme Court on the other case that you have? Because we thought that the Supreme Court had already exhausted the issue by saying that you should solve your crisis internally. So what's your prayer before the Supreme Court presently?
Our prayer with the Supreme Court is similar to what they have decided.
Okay.
And that is, in Edo, where Aburi was initially suspended by his ward for wrongdoing. So that time, instead of Aburi to go to the next organ of the party, he moved straight to the court. Now, the Federal High Court in Abuja restrained him that time. From there, instead of going back to the party, he moved straight to the appeal court. The appeal court now lifted the restraining order. We moved from there again to the Supreme Court, that the court has no jurisdiction on who becomes the leader of the party. So with this another issue case now, it has dealt with that aspect, except other small things that may be added in our own. That is the issue of pronouncing somebody as the chairman of the party. It's similar. If they still want to decide it, they can still decide it. But it's an issue that is already there. Because we made some references to areas like the PDP, the APGA, and so on, and how the case was dealt with. So that's the issue, that's the prayer. But my point of argument is that there is no way, no matter how rich you are, consider those who are not rich but who have weapon. Weapon today is the party constitution. If they don't use it, we will going to fight on.
All right, Senior Advocate, is it common for people to file 2 or 3 motions or prayers before the Supreme Court? Just the way he has explained, it's similar, but this one refers to the issue that Bray had in Edo State. Is it part of the things that also creates confusion at the Apex Court as well? Because one has been decided, there's another one that they're waiting for judgment upon. Senior Advocate.
Ordinarily, all these cases should have been consolidated and a decision taken because it's all about Labour Party. And he, of course, you hear him well. He's still talking about leadership. And the pronouncement of the Supreme Court will be different from what has been decided. I think these are internal matters. You go and resolve who is your chairperson, who is your deputy, and all that. You shouldn't bring it to the court. Even if the lower court has made a pronouncement on all these things before coming to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court will still tell them that anything that has to do with an internal matters of the political parties is clearly not justiciable. We tell them that. But lawyers, most of them want to be senior advocates, so they file all these appeals. It helps them to facilitate their process of being senior advocate. They even know that these things may have been decided by the court. They still want to go and fight ahead and all that. But I know what the courts are doing now. The Supreme Court now usually fine lawyers, ask them to pay certain penalties over matters that they know has already been decided. They still feel very stubborn in order to bring it before them for adjudication. They usually fine lawyers personally to pay some penalties. So this issue of leadership has been decided. Go back home. And I love what the elder, the Alhaji himself, said. Alhaji is saying he has a weapon. The weapon of the constitution is what he's using now. But I think that the overall interest of the party should be uppermost in the mind of Elder Akwankwa, Baba. Baba should be more interested in seeing that the political party that is his baby survive. But if he fights on the way he's saying now, there won't be any remnant of that party. They cannot succeed, fighting this way. So if he has a very high objective, and that objective is to see a formidable political party that himself will be a father to, I don't think that the line of action he has taken is the best, because that confusion will continue. He has a weapon, according to him, he has a weapon of the Constitution. But I think that the major stakeholders must be also reached out to, which is what the professor has said. Right. So why don't you reach out to them and see what can be done? Rather than having the crisis escalating.
Right. We'll take a short commercial break now. When we'll get back, Senior Advocate, I have one more question for you, not related to Labour Party. After that question, I don't know if our panelists will also ask you, and then we can let you go, because you've been very insightful for us on the conversation today, even though it was a very short notice. So, but stay with us. We'll go on the break. We'll come back. We'll ask you the question, and then we can let you go. Then we'll continue the conversation with Alhaji Apapa. We're back in a moment to Podium. To stay with us.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
You must have heard about Cocoa Box. If you have not, you are sleeping on a bicycle. Over 500,000 is paid every week. With just 200 naira, you can play to win 10,000 naira by dialing *347 *253 #. Raffle draws are live on radio Mondays through Fridays at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. and on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. 10 lucky winners will be selected on weekdays and 5 winners on Saturday. To play, just dial *347 *253 # on any network or visit www.ko-cocobox.fun. Again, it's *347 *253 #. Please note that the bank account that will appear is Titan Paystack. Don't be caught napping. Cocoa Box is in partnership with 32 FM 94.9 Ibadan. The more you play, the more your chances of winning big.
Tifa bá wọlé tọ́ ní fàáfàá làájìfà. 32 FM, the happiness station, is ready to spread happiness again. Yes, ke? Turn don reach for us to make our listeners smile again. Oh, are you ready? Ṣé ti dúró dédé? Àwùfù bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ don land like traffic light. If true, data is life. Na if you say recharge card go come you wait you. If your finger is fast and you are feeling lucky on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, then keep your dial locked on 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yẹ́. Nítorí òjò recharge card yóò máa rọ̀ ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Ìṣẹ́gun, Ọjọ́rú àti Ọjọ́bọ̀. Ìyẹn ò ní pé every Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday time go reach you. Àwùfù bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ go dey ṣẹlẹ̀ on top 32 FM 94.9 by 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m. Congo reach 7 p.m. Lẹ́yìn tó túmọ̀ sí pé láago 8 òwúrọ̀, aago 11 àárọ̀, aago 1 ọ̀sán, aago 5 àti aago 7 àṣálẹ́. If it be red network, if it be green network, e still fit be yellow network. Any which way na way, your own na to stay alert and stay active on 32 FM. Ló bá tán, mọ́ gọ́ọ̀kì ẹ̀ la fàwọ́dá.
You want like Vinny Junior? Èmi tí mo phenomenal gangan.
Ganusi Extra Love Matters pẹ̀lú Gbénga Adéyínká and Friends padà dé pẹ̀lú About Time Tour 2025 ìrírí aláìlẹ́gbẹ́ tó kún fún ẹ̀rín àríntàkìtì pẹ̀lú Mr. P Square Terry Àpàlà Babátúmiṣe Bash Ọmọbaba Dr. Smile Kiki Kenny Black Mr. Escom Pìtìpìtì Master General Lack Pretty Arike Pretty Fọlá Kàmó Babaláríyá Madiba Taiji Rapping Daddy DJ Sexy TJ Bass àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ó máa wáyé lọ́jọ́ Sunday April 20, 2025 ní Jogo Center Ìbàdàn. Show máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ láago 4 ìrọ̀lẹ́. Tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì regular 5,000, VIP 10,000, Gold 250,000, Platinum 500,000. Tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì wà ní Yese Salon, Foodco Supermarket, Ultima Restaurant, Grand X Superstores, Ace Supermarket. Ó tún wà ní online lórí formzweb.com, FIRS, Montina, Goldberg, Ace Root, Omni Blue Aviation ló mú gbogbo pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣì wá fún yín. Tí Eleganza, Eclair Properties àti ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ sì kí n lẹ́yìn. Love Matters ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ ganu sí papọ̀. Ilé akéde ni 32 FM.
Anybody with like group could tell you there is nothing like live music. Lago Lago, the weekend starter. Lago Lago, the Tungba Chamber. Lago Lago, ètò kan àrà ọ̀tọ̀ tó balẹ̀ bàgẹ́ sórí ìkànnì àfẹ̀nígbà gbogbo àgbáyé 32 FM. Láti aago 8 sí 9 àbọ̀ lálẹ́ Friday. Ẹ pàdé àwọn live band tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ràn lórí Lago Lago pẹ̀lú atọ́kùn ètò àfùdábà bá àgbàlagbà. God on radio. You know what? Lago Lago is specially made for you because only send the message kan máa kí ẹ kó o máa gbọ́ níbikíbi tó o bá wà. Lago Lago. Ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ mí sẹ́.
32 FM 94.9.
Àkú ayọ̀ ọdún 2025 o. Golden Chance Lotto tún ti dé pẹ̀lú ìfà oníbejì ti ọdún tuntun. Fún ẹ̀yin oníbàárà wa tẹ́ dúró tì wá. Bí Golden Chance Lotto ṣe ń ṣílẹ̀kùn 2025 pẹ̀lú ọ̀ṣàrà ẹ̀bùn. Fún yín bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ṣe ń ta géèmù wa lọ́jọ́ Sunday. Blessing àti Prosper gan ni adùn ọjọ́ ìsinmi. Ta àwọn géèmù wa pẹ̀lú àwọn tuntun tá a ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ gbé dé. Kó scan QR code sticker wa láti jẹ ẹ̀bùn lẹ́yẹ ọ̀ṣọ́ka. Kò tán síbẹ̀ o. Tó o bá ta tó $50,000 50,000 naira. O lè láǹfààní láti jẹ àwòyanu ẹ̀bùn níbi yìí kó tó wà. Géèmù wa Better Life àti àwọn àkọ́tún fún ọjọ́ ìsinmi Sunday náà wà ní ṣẹpẹ́. Aago 2 kù ìṣẹ́jú 15 ni Better Life ń close. Tí èsì rẹ̀ ó sì máa jáde láago 2. Blessing close láago 3 kọjá ìṣẹ́jú 15. Tí èsì rẹ̀ yóò sì máa jáde láago 3 àbọ̀. Tí Prosper náà sì ń close láago 5 kọjá ìṣẹ́jú 15. Tí èsì rẹ̀ yóò sì máa jáde láago 5 àbọ̀. Ẹ lè ta Golden Chance Lotto láwọn ilé ìtajà wa káàkiri tàbí kẹ́ ẹ kàn sí www.goldenchancelotto.com. Tó o bá ní data tàbó ń lo fóònù kékeré, ìwọ kàn tẹ̀ *7005# lórí ìlà MTN. Ó rọrùn láti ta géèmù wa kó o jẹ kó o sì gbowó rẹ̀ láìsí lọ kábọ̀. Àdéhùn àti àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ ń bẹ o. Golden Chance Lotto.
Kò bá jẹ́ 24, 29 tàbí 32 ṣáà ti fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wa lórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ kàn tẹ 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀.
When the people became silent,
The government became oppressive. It's time to lend your voice to politics.
On 32 FM 94.9.
Welcome back. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9, your laughter station. Remember, we're live on Facebook, 32 FM 949 Fenye. We have Senior Advocate of Nigeria with us, Dr. Monday Obani. We also have Alhaji Lamidi Papa with us as well. As I said before we went on that break, so I'll be asking you my final question, Senior Advocates, and I don't know if our panelists also have questions for you before we let you go and continue the conversation with Alhaji Papa. So the question is about River State. I think I was about to ask you before Alhaji Papa joined us earlier. The sole administrator, his appointment, of course, has been subject to a lot of debates across the legal and political divide, and the recent moves as well, decisions taken, appointments made in River State, allocation released to him, has led people to raise questions about the legality of his position, whether or not the suspended governor, Fubara, still continues to enjoy the privileges of office or the immunity that protects him as an elected governor of the state. I'd like you to speak to these issues. That's my final question to you before I hand it over to the panelists. So, Senior Advocate.
The emergency announcement of the federal government has actually been challenged. A lot of parties are in court. We have been seeing a lot of people suing the federal government based upon that, but most of them without local standard and all that. It's only the governor that actually has locals. So presently, the government that was democratically elected is suspended in Rivers, and that is the truth. And the president relied on previous practices of President Obasanjo and all that in order to give life to what he has done by setting aside the democratically elected structures. Now, the sole administrator is, if you remember that the National Assembly, in assenting or agreeing with the emergency rule, said that the issue of lawmaking and oversight will be done by the legislative, by the National Assembly. And I have seen a situation where the sole administrator himself is carrying on without reference to the National Assembly, despite their amendment of the tone of the emergency that was sent to them by the president, that they will be charged of lawmaking. So I don't see any reference being made to the National Assembly in terms of even the sole administrators is appointing now, even the issue of his budget. Is the one who, I don't know who he has presented the budget to, but I hear that there is a budget that he has drawn up and all that. So it's all that there is total confusion there, and I don't know when it will end. But I think that the National Assembly should be able to make some pronouncements in order to say, look, we are also superintending, oversighting whatever you're doing as a sole administrator. Presently, we have a sole administrator in place, unless the court set it aside. He has 6 months within which to run, which can be renewed by the president. So that is actually what I want to say. Arguments as to legality is a different ballgame. A lot of Nigerians have said, look, was there any legality in what the president has done? Was it the right thing to do at the time he did it? Was the condition, precedent for declaration of state of emergency actually there as prescribed by the Constitution before the declaration? And if those things weren't there and all that, it's only the court that can make a pronouncement. And before you know it, the 6 months period is over. Ubara himself now has actually accepted his fate. And that's why up to now he has not filed any suit against that declaration. And I think he is also reaching out to the presidency in order to see how, after the 6 months, how he can come back. So that's why he has maintained some level of silence and want to abide by the decision of the president, and so that at the end he will not be the complete loser, in the process. So that's what I want. So I have to be a bit cautious, what I'm saying concerning this matter.
I understand. Okay. As we let Senior Advocate go, Barrister, any final comment before he goes?
Yes. Please don't let him go yet. Lawrence Silk. The AGC, the Annual General Conference, I understand has now been moved to Enugu. Yes. And there are many Nigerians are wondering what happened. Perhaps you would assist in educating them on the need to have the NGC moved to Enugu.
Yeah, okay, are they questioning it? Are they saying that it's not the right decision, or what?
No. The general public appears to be oblivious, of the underlying reasons for the change of venue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The change of venue was as a result of the state of emergency that was declared in Rivers State. Our venue was supposed to be Rivers. We have all agreed, and advertisement has been put in place, and everyone is looking forward to having the conference in Port Harcourt. All of a sudden, there was a state of emergency, and the NBA spoke. They spoke out. They said, no, we do not allow permit or like what the president has done, because even if he's going to declare state of emergency, not to set aside democratically elected structures. There is no room in the Constitution for that. And that was the argument. And they disagreed with presidency over that. And so they now look at it. Why would they want to go and hold a conference in an environment that is not under democratic structures? And they have condemned the administrator. Of course, you need the support of the chief executive for such a conference to go successfully. There is a lot of things that the state executive have to do in terms of logistics, in terms of security, in terms of it's so many. So if you have a hostile government that is in place, and you want to go and do a conference, annual conference in such an environment, you'll be at risk, because one, you have criticized the coming of the government, and you are not getting the nod of the government for you to come, and you want to go and do a conference of such magnitude with over how many, over 100,000 lawyers. That would be a risk. So the NEC, I think the NEC sat and then empowered the ESCO to look at another venue. And so they just came up now with the coal city, Enugu. I'm sure they must have looked at the issue of infrastructure, the number of hotels, the logistics, and of course the agreement of the state governor. Because if they don't have the consent, the buy-in of the state governor, they cannot shift such a conference of such magnitude to Enugu. So I'm sure they must have gotten the consent. So that's the reason for the change of venue. It is the structures, democratic structure that were destroyed in Rivers that led to the NBA national president the declaration of that emergency, setting aside democratically elected governance.
Yes. Okay, let's go to Prof. Prof, final question for senior advocates. Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can hear you, Prof.
The senior advocate for his very thoughtful responses to our question. I just wanted to ask one last question concerning his statement. Fubara has been silent. I'm aware that the other governors, the South, has gone to the court to protest to challenge the state of emergency, especially that part that demolish those democratic offices. That's the right thing to go, and whether you also think that covers up for Fubara's own individual challenge of that emergency.
Yeah, presently the matter is before. I think presently the matter is before the Supreme Court. Am I being heard?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. We can hear you.
Am I being heard?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you. Yes, sir.
It is actually the PDP governors, the state governors. The state governors have actually approached the Supreme Court to challenge that declaration and the setting aside of the democratically elected structures. So the Supreme Court will decide whether those governors have local standby. So is it going to be a very tough decision? And then two, whether there is a dispute, because the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction over dispute between state government and the federal government. So can this issue of removal of a state governor be regarded as a dispute between state government and so that definition also will have to be explicitly explained by the Supreme Court. These are challenging. I'm sure that the Attorney General will put up a very vehement opposition to the suit that has been initiated by the state governors against the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers. So it's going to be an interesting the matter I had has been filed, on land has been filed. So we are waiting for the assignment and the date of the hearing, and they will await the decision of the Supreme Court whether those issues, as I said earlier, will be decided in favor of the state governors. One, issue of locus. Two, whether this can really be regarded as a dispute, between state government and the federal government, in accordance with, I think, Section 212 of the Constitution. I think Section 2, yeah. So I don't know. So whatever it is, I can assure you that it's going to be an interesting time to get the pronouncement of the Supreme Court over this. I don't think the governor himself, who has been removed, is part of the parties to the case. It's only the state governors that came together and say they are likely going to be a victim. They are going to be a victim if any action is not taken. So they're anticipating that they may likely also be removed just like that. So that's why they have gone to court in order to protect themselves. Whether that can confer locus the court will have to take a decision
Right.
on that.
Right. We have to thank you, Mr. Monday Obani, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for your insightful thoughts on the podium this morning. Thank you so much. As I said, even though you joined us on a short notice, it's been most refreshing having you on the program today. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for having me. Continue with Papa. I'd like to hear
we will.
Papa will say concerning this matter, that he has finally agreed to the advice of the young man that there should be peace in Labour, so that they can be able to form a very strong opposition, and be able probably to give a shot, of what will happen in 2027. This issue of division and crisis within the political party cannot give them a voice. It only make them to be divided, and they will not go anywhere. And it's dangerous for them.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I mean, Elijah Papa, as the senior advocate said, I mean, the politicking for 2027 has seemed to have started. As you are taking over, as you are taking over as the acting national chairman, we have seen moves from different political parties. Leaders of different groups are coming together, traveling to different parts of the country. Yesterday, we saw Malam Nasir El-Rufai traveling to see former President Muhammadu Buhari. We've seen El-Rufai go to the SDP. There are talks of a possible coalition between himself and Atiku Abubakar. Your candidate's name has been mentioned as well. I just want to get your position on this. Talks about a merger of the opposition forces against the APC in 2027. If you are able to bring all the forces together in the party and sort out the issue as the Supreme Court had advised you to do, is this something that you're willing to explore, that coalition, come 2027?
It's a welcome development. Politics is about moving together to achieve your objectives. So it's a welcome development, provided they give us the right leadership.
So when you say right leadership, for instance, if the coalition means that your candidate in 2023 would have to sacrifice his ambition for somebody else to become a vice president, or are you still going to insist that whatever coalition happens has to favor your party first and your candidate?
No, it depends on what people decide at that time. I don't want to preempt what will happen at that period. Let's see what happens. Let's see the arrangements. Let's see the coalition, and let's see what's going to be the likely outcome of the whole thing.
Yeah, and the reason people are talking about this coalition is this feeling or this perception that opposition parties are being stifled by the current government. They say some of the crises happening now are being orchestrated by the ruling party, that they want to create trouble in these opposition parties to make them weak as much as possible, so that they can carry out, keep exhibiting their dictatorial tendencies and anti-democratic operations. So do you think that, because it was something that Elijah Atiku spoke about in one of the conferences they had, I think 2 or 3 months ago, Nasir El-Rufai spoke about it as well. In fact, one of them said that there are reports that some top executives of political party are being given money, are on the payroll of the ruling party to cause trouble internally so as to weaken the party. So do you think the opposition parties are weak, or are the crises internally are being orchestrated by the ruling party?
Well, I can only talk about Labour Party. The Labour crisis is not being sponsored by any government. It's just because we refuse to speak the truth. And once that is done, I think they will get it right.
Yeah, and before I go to our panelists, just a quick one. You mentioned the NLC earlier. I remember that during the week they also issued a warning saying that they would repress any Labour Party offices across the country following the Supreme Court, repossess rather, any offices of the Labour Party following the Supreme Court's ruling concerning the leadership of the party. So is the NLC within your decision to take over as the acting national chairman of Labour? What's your relationship with the NLC presently?
Well, I just let me start by advising the NLC that they should not embark on attacking Labour Party offices at the state level. They don't have the authority, because you cannot unmake what you don't make. The offices are either being rented by the members or being constructed by members' contribution. So they should not embark on that. It's because it is illegality. They should not do that. The relationship with the NSC, everybody is aware. Those of us who are leaders of the party, we know the role NSC played. But that is not to say that they will claim authority of Labour Party leadership. add it to their own, because each group has its own constitution. Labour Party has its own constitution, they have their own constitution, and no one has the right to take over the authority of the other one. So it is very separate, it's quite different from each other. But we have good relationship because in Labour Party constitutions, we have opportunity for them. We have what is called platform positions. That is the vice chairman or the deputy national chairman. We have those that are from the platforms, the TUC and the NSC. So that is enough. But they are not contestable. They have been once they send the list to us as their representative, we accept it as their own representative. So we have good relationship. But that is not to say that they will take over the offices of Labour Party all over the country.
Right. So that means they are with you in your decision to return as the acting national chairman. They are very much with you.
I won't say yes or no, because since I've just taken over, and although they have not reacted badly, so I have to believe that they are not against me. Because if somebody is not against you, it means it's with you.
Okay, let me go to Prof. Prof. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, it seems as if the Labour Party it doesn't have a very robust, cordial relationship with the NLC, because we see some of these challenges coming on and off again. Is there no clear delineation, whether in the Constitution or in the way they have operated with the Labour Party, such that we have this kind of talking down or talking up, either from within the Labour Congress or from the Labour Congress to the Labour Party? Because I understand that the Labour Party is a registered party. Just to say it's a registered union. And I would not for instance think that the NLC is the owner of Labour Party. Labour Party is a legal entity of its own. So what is the nature of the relationship between the NLC and Labour Party that's always making this assertive statement coming up again and again? And this time the NLC being implicated in the internal challenges of the Labour Party.
Alaji.
I think I've explained that now. That at the beginning of this party, NLC has a big role in forming the Labour Party. And that is why in Labour Party constitutions, we have what is called platform representative from the NSC and TUC. They have one representative, and their positions are not contestable. We rely on whoever that is being recommended by them to represent both platforms. That's the NSC and TUC. And we've been working together. But the argument is that the NSC cannot claim to be the owner of the party, because NSC has its own constitution, Labour Party has its own constitution, and no one has right to claim right over the other. It's a separate entity entirely.
Okay, let's go to Barrister. Barrister?
Yeah, but the point I make is not about this legal relationship. I'm talking about the practical relationship. Because I thought that if you have Labour Party, a space in the Labour Party for the NSC, that space enables interaction, a regular consultative line between the Labour Party and the NSC. Why is this a kind of talking occurring as if there's some kind of distrust or misinformation or lack of understanding of what this relationship really implies in practical terms? That's what I'm saying. What is responsible? Is it that the representative of the Labour Party in the NLC of the NLC in the Labour Party are not doing their job, or the NLC leadership is overreaching itself?
Alaji.
Yeah, I think you are right to some extent, sir. The point is that, their own positions is just a free one, and it's just only one. The other officers are elective. And for an appointed officer to claim superiority over others that are elected. No, it's a case. And let me tell you, I don't want to say this on here, but since I'm compelled to say it now, we have to say something. Some of the so-called NSC leaders, they are not card-carrying members of Labour Party. And if you are not a card-carrying member of Labour Party, and you intend to lead the party, how can it be possible? That's the problem there. And we keep on saying, too late at the beginning, you played a very vital role. Make sure that members of the NSC are right from the world level. Let them join Labour Party. Let us all know that this party belongs to us. But for you to say you want to be in APC, you want to be in PDP, you want to take part in all the parties, and you still want to claim ownership of Labour Party when there are some people who have no other one apart from Labour Party. That's the problem. And we keep on educating ourselves that if we all say this party belongs to us, let us belong to this party fully. So I think that will be over as time goes on. Because I remember some of us who contested before, we asked the NSC to give us money, we are not giving. Give us moral support, we are not giving. How can you claim ownership of an organization that you are not even pay any contribution? That's the problem. But right. I think that will be resolved as time goes on.
Right. Okay. Remember, you can call us. Let's see if we can take one or two calls before we end the conversation. 0705 5000 949 0829 7000 949. You can call 0906 2000 949. Alhaji Papa is here. We're discussing the recent Supreme Court ruling regarding the leadership of the Labour Party. You can also drop a message on Facebook 32FM 949 Fenye. So, Barrister, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if Baba Papa, because you remember the last time we had him on our program, I appealed to his age as the father of all of those boys. We want a country that can function, rather than a country where it will be chaos and all kinds of troubles in the land. I want him. It is the same appeal that I am going to make now, that Baba should look for the bigger picture, should look at the bigger picture. This country needs leadership. This country needs those who would at least take it out of the woods. Nigerians are suffering, and so that should take priority in all of what we are doing. I think that will just be my appeal to Baba Papa.
I will do my best on that.
Oh, okay. So before we let you go, I just have one more question for you. I mean, we've seen the game of defections of some of your members in the National Assembly. We've seen recently the defection of Valentine Ozigbo in Anambra State. He was seen as one of the top contenders within your party to pick up the governorship ticket for the forthcoming off-season election there. So why do you think the Labour Party has not been able to keep its house together and keep its members together after that election? Because they won a number of seats alongside other opposition members in the National Assembly, but those seats are being lost now due to defection of these members. What do you think is behind these defections?
Well, that is still about not speaking the truth. This thing happened before the issue of Supreme Court judgment. And that time I was outside facing what will happen at the Supreme Court. I keep on telling you that I don't want to expose people on air, but you cannot see if you are unable to produce a candidate, definitely there is something wrong. If there is no free and fair election, there will be protests after the result. That's the cause. So I don't want to say much because since I don't have evidence to prove, but I know people raise their eyebrow where they are not treated fairly.
So are you saying there were discrepancies in how primaries are conducted or how positions are given within your party? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm referring to the one you just mentioned now.
Yes.
I'm referring to one you have just mentioned now. If one is not giving fair judgment,
okay,
definitely after the primary, there'll be issue.
Yes.
So I'm not saying I'm not part of it. I'm not part of it, and I don't want to comment on it.
Okay. So you've also announced that you've been meeting next Monday, that's 14th of April, to discuss zoning arrangement and other issues. So I just want to ask you, who are the people that are going to meet with you in all of this? Because some people are saying that you're alone, that the major stakeholders are either within the Nadi Usman and Peter Obi faction and Alex Oti, or Abu Reda is insisting that he's still the chairman. So who are the people that will be meeting with you on Monday to discuss zoning arrangement of your party as the acting national chairman?
In the course of our discussion, I said it. I said the issue of senators and whatever, they are more in number. But I told you I have been equipped by the party constitution. I've told you that. It's not an issue, or it's not an issue of majority. It is an issue of the constitution. But what I'm going to do, you are asking me about whom am I going to meet on Monday?
Yes.
Let's wait till Monday.
Because, in politics... Yeah,
let's wait till Monday.
Right. Because I wanted to say, numbers are important. It's a game of numbers, and you have to.
This one is what I gave you an instance now of land grabbers.
Okay.
1,000 land grabbers went to occupy somebody's land, a land you bought about 200 years ago, and 1,000 people came in that you are not the owner, but you don't bring out a document, and that document proves you right. They will all be sent back. That's it.
Right.
This is an issue of concern. It's not an issue of crowd.
Right. Thank you so much, Alhaji Lamidi Papa, for joining us.
Thank you for having me
on the podium. Barrister Prof, final statement as we let Alhaji Papa go. Barrister? Hello, Barrister. Oh, I don't know if he's still with us. Hello, Prof. Final thoughts, final comment as we let Alhaji go.
I think... since Barrister, let me also make Alhaji laugh. It seems that what is happening now is the popular saying that one with God is majority. And they're announcing one with the Constitution is majority.
Okay. Barrister is here. Barrister.
Yes. So you want Alhaji Apapa to laugh?
Yes.
Alhaji Apapa, do you want to laugh? Because since the Supreme Court judgment, you have been frowning. So okay, Alhaji, do you want me to help you speak with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to declare state of emergency on Labour Party?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Barrister.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barrister and Prof, for joining us as usual on the conversation. Remember, I'll be back again next Saturday, 9 a.m. on the podium. My name is OLORUNTOBA YUSUF. Special thanks to my producer, Bola from Moscow. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday morning. Bye for now.
Safa peli sizo simnyama iwasafa